says Brian. Oh, wait a second. Charles is going to be very dissatisfied with the camera angle. Something has to happen about this.
And
Look
we
at
said
this.
smoky time, not smoking time.
Yes, smoky time.
But we're not judging you. Just
No, absolutely not. So, all right, we're gonna. What actually?
Get Charles a moment.
What do you think, Charles? Are we even?
Are we to your standards?
We're never to his standards. We always improvements always must be made. In life, in the live streams, and and even as Shop Mom would tell you to this book. So, all right. So last time, obviously we're still waiting for some people to get in the room. Oh my gosh! I guess everyone's like here already. Oh my god! Hi everyone.
Hey, Johnson. Hey.
Okay, let's not wait for those who are late to class.
Oh, sorry.
We're not going to reward you being late to class.
That's right.
It's a bad habit. We have some people saying congratulations on the commercial, Danny.
Oh, well, thank you. Yes, thank you.
Okay, y'all, don't feed his ego.
Yes,
don't
happy
feed
Friday.
my ego, just not gonna- but
TGIF.
yes, you see me.
Don't forget about the chicken timers. Don't forget about the chicken
Thanks,
timers.
Brian.
Brian.
You can always count on Brian for the chicken timer reminder.
Brian is on it. All right, so I'm gonna get back to the very beginning of where we started. Okay, so we started Automotive Book Club, or last time we finished at page 77, the Society of Heads Up Basses, Surface Transportation Manufacturers. And this is something I remember sort of talking about. No, that's mine. It's Friday. Hi everyone. Let us know what you're. This is not Pachanga Friday, but
it's always Pachanga Friday.
It's Pachanga Friday book club. Okay,
yes.
People. So we're
and if
so
the people
good.
are confused about, we're putting it all together. Holiday book club, Pachanga.
Yeah, they're all decked out for the holidays.
Yes, we have a Christmas tree.
And let's not forget the Solis Navidad.
Solis Navidad, everybody. Yes, Solis Navidad. That's what we say around our household.
And now I'm gonna say it. That's new. I didn't.
Well, cheers.
No, yes,
Solis
cheers.
Navidad.
Okay, cheers to Friday. That being said, it's like I used to be so excited about Fridays, but as like a self-employed person, now I'm like, okay, well, here's all the things I'm gonna do tomorrow. It's like you never really get
That's
a weekend.
That's a little bit different about being self-employed. It's still fun. Fridays are still fun. You know, but
the shop still shuts down at 3.
Yeah.
But the work never ends. The work never ends, people. So, okay, I really liked this chapter of the book because. Actually, we got a few chapters, but starting off with Society of Heads Up Basses, Surface Transportation Manufacturers. And for those of you that normally join us on Friday, we had some family emergencies that required us to shift from Wednesday to Friday. Don't worry, everyone's okay as of right now. Everyone is good. But you can pray for us. Anyway, we are reading this book. This is our Wednesday thing. Normally, this is the second of the Smoky trilogy, and we give reading assignments, and then we talk about the book and talk about our favorite things from the book. And I love interactive book club because I feel like I get so much more out of it when I get an opportunity to talk to Danny about book club and hear y'all's input on book club. And also, I feel like Smokey in general has made me a better person. In the ways that he holds himself to an extremely high standard, the way that he holds others to high standards. He's got like this really like old world, old school mentality. Sometimes that comes off as like him being a little bit rough or maybe not being able to be accepted into like, you know, today's society. But this chapter specifically, Society of Heads Up Basses, Surface Transportation Manufacturers, we get a little bit of sense of Smokey trying to like rationalize racing and all of the negative aspects of racing.
And you can kind of see, just as we get on in the book, like every chapter you kind of, and Smokey saw that as well. He would see the other side and he would kind of give people, you know, more latitude. It's kind of like, he didn't care for a liar. That was pretty much it. But he kind of saw the big picture, so he always had, you know, he just saw things everybody's side. So when you start getting into the chapters, you can kind of see like, why isn't Smokey in the NASCAR Hall of Fame? Why? He was pretty much, he said what was on his mind.
Yes.
And didn't sugarcoat it.
Yes, so, and that can get you in some trouble. Imagine if Smokey Yunick was like on social media today.
He
would be banned. He would not have an Instagram. He would definitely be banned off of YouTube. There's no way he would have a Twitter. Let's just put that out there. So
forget TikTok, but yes. So with it, so that's just the thing. We do get to see every chapter. We kind of see more of Smokey, and you get to understand because a lot of people had never heard of Smokey, and then when they start just kind of just dabbling into Smokey, then they go like,
oh, wait a second.
Well, why?
Yeah, then you realize like how much of his inventions, how so much of what he's created over time, this like touches our lives, and we sort of realize here in this chapter as well, like that there were a bunch of contributions that like racing had on passenger cars, which is kind of how Smokey was sort of justifying all of the death and the sadness that occurred from racing. Hurton says he wasn't very good at promoting himself. That's true. He should have had an agent. Hurton, he definitely should have had an agent.
And he kind of starts off at all of the different things or problems that the internal combustion engine had.
Yes.
This is at the early stages. So you're taking a primitive engine. It's advanced for the day, but now you're starting to race it. So you're starting to actually put more loads in it, RPM.
Yeah.
RPM, and then with everything.
Put these things to the test.
Yes. So
and I'll quote him here. I know exactly what you're saying. Actually, every gosh darn, I'm paraphrasing there.
You have to.
Piece of the engine were at least 50% short in design criteria for what we were trying to do in the horsepower department. Basically, it goes like we start off this chapter with a list. Poor oil, no decent oil filters, poor oil pressure, cheap materials, burnt and broken pistons resulting from poor materials, poor fuel delivery, heavy design, overheating from plugged radiators, like all of these problems. And at first, it really opened up the door for advances in the regular passenger car.
And then he'd get in trouble because he advanced these parts.
Oh yes. He wanted them to be able to.
Yes.
He wanted. Well, there's a two-pronged issue here. Is that yes, Smokey saw the failures of these engines and was like, wait a second, I can make those better. Let me just make those better. Duh.
Yeah, that piston is, back in the day, pistons were steel. They weren't even aluminum. And then the alloys of aluminum were just pretty primitive aluminum. So the pistons would fail. You'd burn pistons up.
As with the bearings.
Yeah. The bearings and oil, and so in just making parts to be able to last the race, well, then it's in teardown. It's like, well, you have parts that aren't legal. It was supposed to be a stock engine. Mm-hmm. So because of all of this, engines advanced. We are fortunate, and I don't want to jump ahead. That engines have advanced because of racing.
Yes,
so it was a good thing, but
exactly, and that's how Smokey was justifying it at first. Also, there was, and that was like some beef he sort of had with that. Oh my God, thank you, Johnny.
Whoa!
Oh my gosh,
I know what we do when that happens.
Yes, yay!
Cheers. Friday just got a little bit better. Anyway,
we appreciate that so much. So, yes. So at the beginning, he was saying how like it's really frustrating to him how like the engines that you see like right now racing, whether it's NASCAR or Indy or I mean even like Formula Drift nowadays, it's like there's nothing about let's just pick on Toyota because I love Toyota. There's nothing about the Toyota Camry that you see racing NASCAR that actually is on the real Camry aside from like the name Camry, So it's like all it is promotion, and Smokey's like that's not fair. Like actually it's right at the beginning of this chapter. As a matter of fact, the Ford engine as raced hasn't been used by Ford for years. I'm not necessarily criticizing, except to say, why in the heck don't they tell the truth? And this is a little bit more of like that whole like, Smokey is just really a person of his he likes to say,
he's just not gonna lie.
Yes.
When Chevrolet, we talked about it before, had him and they were unveiling the Indy car, and they were all proud because Smokey was going to come in the unveiling, and Smokey just was, well, where? And he said, well, here's the new Chevrolet, and he's like, you got Chevy on the valve cover. I mean, this is not an American car.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why it was, show us your green card at Indy. Well, that's not what Chevrolet wanted when the cameras were there and they unveiled it. They wanted him to, what a beautiful Indy car.
Yeah.
So, and he just wasn't going to do that. So he ruffled feathers. You can kind of imagine why Chevrolet isn't going to say, let's get Smokey to talk about our product, because he's going to talk about a product. Kind of like what we do about, don't send us a product to talk about.
Yes.
Because we're going to talk about it realistically.
Yes,
so do you really want that? Do you really want that?
Exactly. But of course, actually, that's something we're going to see a little bit later on when we get to all the individual people. We start talking about Smokey's heroes and who he looks to as role models, which I love that part so much. Oh, hi everyone. Hello everyone that's starting this stream. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad to see everyone here. Someone's saying, finally catching this live. Who is that? Bubba. Welcome, Bubba. I'm glad you're catching this live as well. He starts to like soften up a little bit in his older age, and you know we sort of see that, and I sort of like learn a lesson from that as well. But what he's saying at the beginning of this chapter, okay, yes, like here are the ways that he has been improving cars in order for them to be able to make it through a race at all, but the seat belt. Was it the seat belt or there was something? Now, like I started reading this chapter so long ago. Oh, here we go. All right, so it's on page 82. I'm starting to have trouble justifying what I'm doing. I've helped carry out both Fireball and Marshall. They're about 100 or 200 yards apart. My mental justification up until then was, well, maybe racing does extract a high premium, but what we learned will make ordinary surface transportation safer. That justification was starting to get wobbly. We are racing killer cars that we know how to make better. And racing's requirements are now turning left. Normal surface transportation is turning right. My excuse is now flawed. We've worn out the rear view mirror story. That's what it was, not seatbelts, rear view mirrors. Okay. Which is a race car invention in the early Indy days. And the tires we need are not good for passenger cars, etc. So he... it was easy for, no, I wouldn't say easy for him to justify the death, but like, obviously we know he loves racing, there's so much of racing that he loves, but there's a tragic aspect of it.
Yeah, he was so conflicted because he was losing actual personal friends in accidents. And when a NASCAR, a Grand National car, a car can hit the wall, what do you say, they can hit it at 150 miles an hour and 52 cars, and they all survive, they all walk. They can go to the pits and they can still come back and finish the race. Mm-hmm. And yet a car that you buy brand new, has a fender bender and the car's totaled.
Right.
And that's what he didn't understand is why aren't we taking the technology that
we've learned
from the racetrack and putting them into every car that you drive? Should be better.
Brian knows exactly. He says, that's racing. Whoop, a little emoji. Because that's exactly what it is. He said you can't really, you are making a choice to race. And that every time that he comes to, was it Bill France that he was going to? That was actually a quote actually from the book. Yeah, Brian nailed it. Is that like every time that you go to them and try to complain about a safety issue or something that they should improve, it's like, well, you don't have to be here. Like you're choosing to race, and that's racing.
No one making you do this.
Yep, yeah, exactly.
And what it was, you just had to you didn't ruffle the feathers. You just kept it yourself because there wasn't. No one's making you do this.
Yes. And he kept on talking about the flaws in the cars. We see him, of course, just totally slamming the new Corvette, which didn't really help him. In fact, he went in there. I suggested that they junk the prototype and start all over. In about 5 years, that guy started talking to me again.
Yes, he comes up to the event and he thinks that the body is totally aerodynamically, and you would think the manufacturers would know aerodynamics, but yet this was early on in the stages.
Yes.
And he thought the Corvette would have actually been better if the body would have been flipped backwards.
Yes.
And exactly, and here is it Bill Mitchell, whatever, the designer of the car, like I said, didn't talk to him for 5 years. So when they bring him in to consult on the build, he's like, whatever word he used first, and can the whole thing, and let's start from scratch. Well, they weren't going to do that. So, but that's just what it was. In the fuel cell, the fuel cell, he had come up with a bladder with the help from Firestone using
like a rubber bladder, like it was a composite.
And they were using them in helicopter technology. He just wanted to bring it into that. He actually
not to cheat, y'all, not to have like a lighter weight fuel tank or whatever, but because it was safer, because he had seen his friends die.
A stock car had a fuel tank is two pieces, and the edges are seamed together. That's how they make a gas tank.
Yep.
Well, in any kind of a bump, the seam would crash. Also, think about it. The cars back in the day, you filled up at the license plate.
Yep.
The filler was right there at the center. You pull the
right
license plate and you fill the car from right there. The tank was right behind the bumper. It actually hung down. So if you remember the Ford Pinto, not the place you want to put a tank if you're getting hit from the rear.
Yeah.
So it was just common sense to him that so if you're not going to move the tank and you're not going to redesign the car, let's put a bladder in the tank. And Fireball Roberts would be alive, probably not today, but he wouldn't have died from a fire in a car from the fuel tank exploding. And so it's just, but Will France wouldn't put that in there. Just like I said, you don't have to race.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So the code of the hills was never complain about danger, even if you ship your pants in the race.
Yes. I heard to note that. Yeah.
Yeah, Danny really liked that part.
I like his language. I shouldn't say I like his language. I like just the way he just. It's like it's real. He's just telling you it's not grammar correct or politically correct or anything. But you even feel like it's his words. It's like it is.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yep. And I like Curtin's comment. Bill France was a piece of work. How many people did he kill? Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. Exactly. Just because it's like not in the spirit of the race, right? Like we hear that over and over again, and it was just like it was safety stuff.
And because I said so. Well,
yes.
Always,
Which was like always the most ridiculous line your parents ever used.
Yes,
right?
I hate that because it's like just give a kid an honest answer and they'll probably understand. Don't treat them like an authoritarian. So yeah, we see here also like how dangerous these cars are. Once again, they're racing stock cars. He's sort of talking about a little bit of the birth we saw a little bit earlier, and then also again here with heavy duty parts, but like. The birth of like performance lines of stuff, which is kind of cool. It's like
spindles.
The spindles.
Mm-hmm.
We raced in 1955 with the front spindles and bearings, and the wheels and rear axles, same as off the showroom floor. If you broke a rear axle, you lost that wheel.
And if you lose a wheel, I like how he even
this is generally an interesting experience, considering that you have no way to steer the bass end and no brakes. We broke front spindles every race. I was
so the spindle breaks and it spins off. You think, okay. That's bad.
No steering.
But the hydraulic line, the brake line, it goes, so you lose your brakes as well.
But you can't modify it. It's got to be stock. And if you're modifying it, then you're cheating.
Yes.
So, yes, all this made for a more interesting race because you had one master cylinder working all four wheels. So when the rear axle, the front spindle broke, you were tested physically and psychologically to see how you reacted at over 100 miles an hour with no steering or brakes. And surrounded by 20 other race cars trying to turn. A complaint to NASCAR would usually get you the standard answers. No one's forcing you to do it. So, I can imagine how frustrating it would be for Smokey to see a problem. Because I'm such a fixer. Like, I don't like to put things off. If there's a problem in front of me, I don't care if it's like, something out of place on the table, or like, a speck of dust on the floor, or whether it's a broken component on a vehicle that has to be fixed now.
And you think about it, putting in a heavy-duty spindle off a truck, heavier. The car's going to weigh more than the factory spindle has on it, and yet you're getting DQ'd because it didn't make the car faster. It let you finish the race, and maybe you won the race because everybody else couldn't finish the race. But you think about it, if you put heavy-duty truck spindles on big drums and hubs, and the car got slower, but it was more reliable. So it wasn't necessarily you were cheating.
It wasn't an upgrade.
You cheated because they made the car go faster around the track. No.
Maybe that's a tip for you, Brittany. I see we got my friend Brittany Fast Cars and Slow Cooking is in the room. She's in book club. Also, you guys, I know this is not related to book club, but she just put out her first YouTube video, so she's officially started her channel. I'm extremely proud of her because she's been wanting to do it for years. So for those of you who see Fast Cars and Slow Cooking in the chats and want to,
give her some
YouTube love because we're really extremely proud and we're welcoming her to the YouTube family and hopefully
and all you folks out there, go hit subscribe.
So thank you, Sean Mom.
While we're at it, you could subscribe and hit the like and everything to this channel as well.
Hit the like. We're just going to generally say if you see something that you like, show some love to the content creator because it is a lot of work. I've watched Danny and Faye do this for a long time, and y'all have no idea how much of their personal lives they sacrifice to put content out for everybody. So subscribe if you haven't done it, and hit the notification button so you know when something's coming up.
She was smart. She put her YouTube and cooking because a lot of times I'd rather be in the backyard grilling or doing a brisket. If you watch some of my personal stuff, I like to do a brisket, and it's like you're in front of the computer. And we're not complaining. We're not complaining at all. But it's a lot of editing stuff. So she was smart.
Fast Car.
And slow cooking, because at least she's going to be doing the cooking, the enjoying of the cooking while the editing. But
Yeah.
anyway, I think
unrelated
it's
to
cool.
book club, but yeah, we're going to the farmers market tomorrow to film some footage. I'm really excited about what she has coming up.
There
So
you go.
anyway,
So-
all right. So yeah, and that was something we had talked about earlier with like the Corvette design as well. Not to like totally cut off from this chapter, but like I feel like I definitely could talk this chapter to death because we see a lot of humans getting in the way of other humans' lives and of safety, and it's like Smokey was not Smokey was not the safety police. Like he was not annoying. Like he would not get on every single one of my YouTube videos and remind me that I need to wear my PPE. However, he saw a problem and wanted to solve it, and like something like a freaking rubber fuel tank and like heavy duty spindles. It's like that's not cheating. So I like bringing this up because it's like Smokey was very creative. He wanted to make the cars better and safer. And it was part of his like moral compass, which we'll sort of see come up a little bit
Putting
later.
a steel plate at the back of your car to protect the tank when you're not going to let me put a bladder in it made the car heavier, and yet you got to take that steel plate off. So yeah.
But that was cheating, right? Smokey's a cheater, right? Okay.
Yeah, okay.
But one of the things we were talking about earlier with how do these people get promoted? Like up in these corporations that are like Smokey was just like these people should know. Yes.
Yeah,
So on page 94.
And he mentions everybody by name. That's another reason you ruffle feathers is yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. But you know he mentioned on page 94. Once the bassholes got plugged into the system, the code kept him in. But what was worse is every so often they got promoted even higher. Somebody invented the Peter principle. I'm not exactly sure what that's referring to, but
I can pretty much guess.
An observation where if any of us continue to be elevated in business or socially, or in the world of athletics or politics, we finally reach a point where we are in over our heads. No one man can ever come close to being a peer in all the vocations the complexity of our lifestyles encompass, from both a business or social point of view. And so he's sort of talking about how that brought down GM and a lot of the American car companies as well, because they sort of had this weird like structure of like seeing people fail up, and that still happens. That's happening. Like Brandon's company has seen some people that have just failed up.
The pecking order.
Yeah.
And if you had a good idea, you were really.
They should put bells on their feet.
That's it worked for the chickens. But
it did work, by the way. We'll get to that later.
It actually was almost like you were. What could you say? If you had a great idea, it actually wasn't your idea.
Yes, it couldn't be your idea, especially if you were new.
Yes, it had to be from the powers of
You had
V.
to come up with a creative way to plant the seeds into the minds of the higher ups.
And you had to give up yourself because it was your idea.
It was your idea.
But you had to just say, this is better for the company.
Yes, if you actually wanted to see change. And that was so frustrating. It's just like the bureaucracy involved kept good ideas from coming. And actually at the end of this chapter, which is the next chapter, I sort of jumped around because I'm very enthusiastic about this book, so it happens. This is a book discussion. But the whole gets bigger every day. This is a book discussion that I'm just blabbing to you about the book, so I'm sorry, people.
No one's leaving, so I think we're okay. No one's leaving.
No one's leaving yet. There's 100 people listening to us talk about Smoky Eunuch right now. This is amazing. But in the chapter, the hole gets bigger every day. He sort of talks about that at the very end of the chapter, where he's actually, where Henry Ford, he quotes Henry Ford saying that he's not worried about, I don't know if this is like a derogatory, like the rice burners, like he's not worried about the rice burners taking over. And Smokey's like, oh, that's not going to age well. And then out of nowhere, here come like the European car manufacturers, the Japanese car manufacturers that start to absolutely kill it with a good quality product. And so he's watching a lot of these, like, even American car companies start getting their products from overseas, start getting, cheaper products, and the quality going down because of the bureaucracy. And of course, I mean, it's hard for me not to be like, Toyota. But I also want the American car companies to be worth a damn.
And he saw he saw the future. He so many things in his book are and not in this book, but in the 3 books, are relevant today.
Yeah. Oh,
and so it was relevant then. But even more amazing is that it's like the stuff that he foresaw or whatever, it was like, it's relevant today. It is
Like there is some stuff in here that I'm reading and I'm like, oh my gosh, like did Smokey write this for me today? Because there are so many lessons to be learned here, and especially as we get into the next chapter that we had for our reading assignment, if the world had more duties, and we start to see the influential people in Smokey's life and the way that he reflects back on them. It's like, how would I want to set up myself to be someone like Smokey Unick would see as a good role model, or someone in his life that he would look up to, and how can I hold myself to a Smokey Unick standard, and how can I find other people that I would hold to that standard as well. I think it's sort of a collective thing. So maybe there's some way that in reading this we can inspire y'all to not let the world get you down, and have, because a lot of the other people around would lower their standards to just fit in with the crowd.
If you didn't know anything and you just read a little bit of the stuff that you read, you would think, I don't want to hold myself to Smokey standards. He was a cheater. He was this and that, and everything else. When if you read the books, and he actually puts like meanings behind different chapters. That's why it's all over the place, kind of, because he had a meaning for this chapter. What was his meaning? What he was trying to just say in a calm way that you would understand it, or that you would see it in a different perspective. So, but it's just that he really sees things differently. It just
we normally find that at the end of the chapter. Actually, we started noticing that actually the first time that we read through this book, or started reading this book. I'll actually, can I just read this last chapter of the last paragraph of this chapter, because it's sort of so on page 95 for those of you that have this book. There's also an online version, an ebook version that's cheaper, and there's also a hardcover. So Danny has a hardcover, I have the soft cover. And mine has a little bit of the smoke from the fire at the bookstore, or at Carbon Press. Okay, so page 95. I think there's a point at which anything can get too big to control. I believe that's what knocked GM, Ford, and Chrysler on their collective basses. In government, same deal. Now I watch every day, more and more mergers, and we talk about biggest, second biggest, etc. in the world. Save money, heck of a deal. I suspect that 10 years from now, this consolidation will backfire and the process will reverse itself. I notice when 10 experts are asked for an opinion on the same question, you actually get 10 different answers. In my opinion, that means that no one really knows. It's all just their best guess.
Isn't that a great way to end a chapter?
Love it.
He told a story, but yet at the end he still, isn't that very poignant? I mean,
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is just like you could ask 10 different experts. I mean, sometimes when I'm debating something in life, I think about, man, who are the 5 smartest people I know, and let me just get a whole bunch of opinions. Let me just grab a whole bunch of different opinions and see what I can do. It's like, man, like even like the smart people that I look up to that have made it in the world, great. They'll all give you like a different opinion and idea to just sort of help
10 different people. I always say it's kind of a thing to just bring it all into point that you ask 2 people the same question, and 2 honest people. So I'm wondering if it's raining in my backyard. I left the window open. So I call my buddy to the left and I call my buddy to the right, and I asked them, is it raining? One guy looks outside and said, no, it's not raining at all. You're good to go. Don't worry about your windows. I call my other buddy. He says, it's raining like cats and dogs. You better close your windows. Now, both people in this particular story that I'm making up then are telling the truth. They're both honest. They're both telling you the truth. Have you ever driven down the road and seen rain just stop? Like, you'd be like, wow, the rain just stopped in a line.
It has to stop somewhere. It's like one giant
all of a sudden
cloud.
So
and then it's gone.
The point being, you ask 2 different people, the exact same question, are both giving you the truth, the God's given honest truth. And yet perspective, where you're standing and how you see something gave you a different opinion of the same thing. Only because somebody has a different opinion than you do doesn't mean that they're wrong. It doesn't mean that you're wrong.
Right.
And right now it's kind of like going like we need to start embracing everybody's standing in a different place, looking at something differently. You might be looking at healthcare, and somebody may be sick. They're looking at healthcare a little bit different than you that have perfectly good health. So that's only the kind of thing. It's like Smokey saw all of it in different opinions, and somebody's different opinion doesn't mean that they're wrong and they don't know what they're doing. They're
exactly.
different perspective.
Oh, and we find that a lot in automotive. You know, I'll you know, we'll post videos with tutorials, and people will be like, oh, well, I do it differently. And sometimes they'll approach that in a kind way, and other times they'll approach it in like a what are you doing, like you're dumb sort of way. It's actually something I was talking to Brittany about the other day. She posted something. Wow, are we halfway through?
We're halfway
All right,
through.
so we're halfway through. So last shot, Mom, if we have any emails or voicemails.
We have a request
halfway
from
through.
one of our regulars.
Okay, well, we'll definitely fulfill our
And he
request.
has given us permission to share this. David
Okay.
Johnson, who has been so generous with so many gifts, is asking that everybody keep his wife in thoughts or prayer, however you do that for somebody that you care about. She's been diagnosed with cancer. And so we really just want to say, David Johnson's been very special to all of us, and anybody who's struggling right now. We know we're kind of all going through that here as a family. David wants us to remember his wife. So Mrs. Johnson, yes, you're most definitely in our prayers.
And I want to say thanks for sharing that. Thanks for sharing it because we most definitely prayers. I mean, I mean, everybody kind of connect. That makes it more like. Right, we would just stop everything just to connect with someone, and that was nice. That was just we will most definitely pray for you, and thanks for allowing
Absolutely.
us into your family for us to do that for you.
Yeah. For those of you that have been with us for a while, you'll know the name David Johnson for sure. He's made some incredible models for us, and made
and some 3D, some stuff that
3D printed.
we can't really show you guys.
I'd have to take you to the bathroom. You know, I like to film in bathrooms.
Stop it! Inappropriate.
That was a live stream.
They would have to go back in the archives.
That was from Facebook.
One of my favorite
Yes.
live streams he's ever done was from the bathroom, so that's fine. But
Don't
we have
judge,
made a
just go
really awesome model of my Supra that I love. So I cherish. Actually, I have it inside my computer. I have like a clear glass like front on my computer with everything like lit up in there and all like the coolant going, and I put the model like right in there. So I look at it all the time, David Johnson. But I will definitely
We will keep
definitely
in our prayers, yes.
Thank you for sharing that, Shop Mom.
Yeah.
And our thoughts and our prayers go out to David Johnson. So
For those of us who spend time in the hospital waiting for doctors to come and give us answers, we all know how stressful that can be. So
It
we
is
will most
very-
definitely keep you in our hearts, David.
it's absolutely.
Okay,
and
now on to more happy things.
Yeah, but actually, well, I mean, kind of on a similar note, though, we're going into the chapter "If the World Had More Deweys," which I love.
The world does need more Deweys.
Chapter. Oh, but I guess I should finish up the story that I was just mentioning about Brittany's post. She made a post and she was explaining, she was showing something that she was doing, and another person, a sort of bigger dude, commented on her post, like, why are you doing it this way? I always do it this way. And she was saying, I didn't know how to explain to him, like, yes, the way he was telling me was the proper way to do it. Absolutely, that's the proper way. You should remove this before you do this. She's like, however, I'm small. I didn't want to have to ask for help twice. So instead, I removed both these things together because it was easier for me to do. Then I separated them. Then I did the work. Then I put them back together. Then I put them back up. Otherwise it'd be two heavy things I had to take down at once. And I was just like, Brittany, that's actually like a really good point because, there are so many different ways of doing things. And people aren't always aware that there's more than one way to skin a cat, especially in automotive. Like there's so many.
And there's a way to say something where people will embrace it. Like, wow, I didn't see that.
I've learned a ton from YouTube comments.
Yeah, with a private message. Hey, I saw you did this. I just, have you ever tried doing this? But a private, why call somebody out on a video? I kind of want to, you don't want to do that because you don't want, but I always want to go, oh, can you give me a link to your YouTube video so that I can send them so they can watch your, oh, you don't have a YouTube video. Oh, you're commenting on, and I don't get that because you don't want to get in that. But there's ways to do stuff because I've had people comment on something a little bit different and I've gone like, wow, that's pretty cool. I learned something today. I try to learn something every day. But
we're always in training.
Yes,
always.
yes, and we don't make that. We are always in training. If you have a mentality that you know everything, you're done. Maybe you should have a YouTube channel and teach the world everything because you already know everything. We all can learn something. There's a way to suggest something. Like I said, don't call somebody out on their platform. Yeah, I mean, golly, we make mistakes every day. If you don't make a mistake at least once, I mean, we make mistakes there every day. Maybe I'm making a mistake even talking about this. See, there's my mistake. But the point is, if you give somebody love, people start to giving love. My favorite line, which I'm not picking on because this isn't TikTok, people. This is YouTube. We help people. YouTube helps people. TikTok knocks people down.
Me.
But I'm not picking on. But share with love a good intent, like a good thing, but a private message. And say, hey, just thought I'd let you know that maybe you didn't. You know what? There's a bowl behind that you didn't see. Whatever the thing is, do it in a positive way, and everybody wins from it.
I'll fill
Everybody
my cup
wins
to
from
that.
Y'all,
yeah, definitely. I mean, I have learned like a ton from just like different ways people do things as well, and it's just like that just goes to show too that even if you think that you're not a professional or that you're unworthy because you do something different than we do it as well, like that also doesn't mean that you're wrong. So, and that's the thing that we see with like, you know, Smokey's approach as well. Like I could never hold a candle to Smokey. Like I don't know who could. Like we'll sort of see later on in this book he starts talking about his schedule and you're like, what?
I've always wanted to do it. That'd be a YouTube video. A week in Smokey, just 1 week.
Oh my god.
1 week in just
I
his
love
footsteps.
you guys too. Thank you.
Just from start to finish, and it'd be yeah.
No.
I don't know.
I would
1 week, not
no.
a week, a year.
Is it 7? What's the amount of time days, Shop Mom, that if you go without sleep you die? I think it's
okay. So actually, the first indication that you're in distress is going to be loss of cognitive function. It takes a little while before you die.
Yeah. So losing sleep. And it's like you lose cognitive function. This guy's rebuilding engines in the hotel room on 2 hours of sleep. Like this guy is absolutely.
And he could have had 5.
It has been. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I'm sitting over here where I can't see your mouth moving. It has been shown that there are certain individuals, and it's really a very small percentage, somewhere between 3 to 7%, if I remember correctly, who do not require the same amount of sleep that normal human beings do. So Smokey may have been in that category.
For his brain to still be firing, and then with his extracurricular activities, because he could have gotten 5 hours sleep maybe, but you know.
But we know what choice he made.
Yeah.
Ask the banker's wife.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So anyway,
poor banker.
There's a lot. So if you are only joining us for the discussion part of Book Club and you aren't actually reading the books, which is totally fine, we welcome you as well. There's a lot of things that happen in the books that we can't talk about on YouTube because I do want my channel to not be banned.
Yes, even though it says it's not made for children, it's not made for a lot of adults.
Yeah, that's all.
Would probably be offended.
And let's not overlook Hurton's comment here because I think that's really important.
Yes.
There was a cost though. He called himself an awful father.
Yes, actually, that's
great. That's I want to say
that's a good,
great, but you very good point. And he
actually we're about to get in. That's like
Hurton reads. We know. We enjoy it.
But he's glad that we changed it from Wednesday to Friday because he was 30 pages behind you to catch up on. So
yeah.
So actually, speaking of, that's exactly the beginning of
good segue to our yes.
Yes. So we go into the chapter if the world had more Deweys, and this I feel like for those of you that are complete like automotive history buffs, I'm glad that we spent a lot of time reading this portion because there are a lot of characters that I didn't even know these people existed. Like Smokey said, it's like, honestly, like until Danny introduced me to Smokey, I didn't even know Smokey existed. There's a lot of people here that contributed to racing culture and like automotive history that we'll never know about because they didn't promote themselves well or they didn't really fit in the mold quite right.
They were just racing.
They were just racing. So yeah, in this chapter, if the world had more Deweys, Smokey touches on all of the people in his life that were influential. And I mean, he starts with his mom and dad. I would not necessarily call them influential in his life at all.
But I don't know if your mom wants an arrest warrant put out for you for not supporting her. That's probably influential in what you do thereafter.
Yeah, I mean,
and his dad, but this is the first time that he talks about him, and probably the last. But at least he does touch that, and you get the character of you start to understand what he went through.
Yes.
So you start not being so hard on Smokey, kind of like, dang.
And actually, like, I've got to say, his parents, when he was talking about them, reminded me a lot of my father's parents. And it kind of, like, made me, dislike my father a little less. Like, hearing Smokey's perspective.
So
like,
him putting
we're even the same nationality.
I'm going to show Smokey's dad.
Show him. But, like, yeah, we're even the same nationality. So I'm, like, Polish and Ukrainian, and so is Smokey Unique. I actually like, I'm half Polish, and then I think like I don't know. I only know I'm half Polish because there's like my dad is full Polish, so there's like a half, right? But like and then but like Ukrainians, I'm like, oh my god, like I relate to him so much. I even have a family member named Lena. But anyway, he talked about being afraid of his dad, and how his dad. How having kids at that time was more just like, oh, we need workers. We need people to work the farm. So the more kids we have, the lighter the load, sort of thing. And I also love the part, like, as I write, I try to recollect. I've noticed my memory works best in recalling the very good or the very bad parts, and the in-between is very clouded. In the beginning, I let racing consume so much of my time that I believe I deserved a rating of defective father. I'm going to have to tell you, I was a loser as a father. So Hurton is spot on when he says
and I said this before, when you read the books, there's a lot of what men, I say people, would say, oh, Glory's always talking about the women that he was with. And I see, because I've read it more and sometimes when you read it more, you almost see different, you get more in it.
I know, I couldn't
he's using those examples to paint the big picture, the full brush, everything the way it was. He wasn't glorifying it. In fact, he throws himself on the sword. He says he was a terrible father, and even in different chapters, he mentions of what he lost, with his daughters, with his kids. His
regret.
So it's not just glory to the fun I had. And he tells you what it was. It really was, and he did enjoy that. But it did have a price. It did have a price, and he puts it on there. So it's not just that he's patting himself on the back, want to tell you all the women he's been with. He's just giving you the full.
But he does that too.
Yeah, well, but he's giving you the full picture. So in the full picture, like I said, it would be a great. I don't know if it would.
As Hurton says, he was honest about all things, including himself. So,
Yeah, some of the stuff he talked about in the last book about the experiences he had in orgies with, multiple people. He never says that his encounters were simply heterosexual. And I think he really puts a lot out there. That's,
You have to read some.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I mean, he goes right out there and says.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but, and there's things that, that I feel like with his character, those things don't really align necessarily. So yeah, he shamelessly tells his story. Yeah.
Bearded Adventure's leaving, so I want to say thanks.
Thanks for being here, Bearded Adventure. Yeah, thank you for the donation. We really appreciate it.
You'll be buying
so
a little bit less groceries, but thank you.
A little bit. Oh.
Yes.
By the way, I just gotta say how much I love Lawnmower's username. It makes me laugh every time I see him in here. I don't even know if it's a him. I don't even know if his first name is actually Lawn, but I love that.
And then he talks about his mom.
Yes, his mom. I can't say much for my mother, Lena. She was Polish. Came here about the same time my father did. She had a tough life. And that, the paragraph about his mom, this is what's interesting about the book, is we really see the people who shaped him. And I think, even to this day, and I call my mom, and I talked to my mom for 40 minutes today, while I was working on something, just had her in the Bluetooth, and I'm just talking to my mom. I love my mom. My mom definitely shaped who I was, and if you saw a picture of her, you'd be like, you're identical. My parents are a huge part of my story. In this book, of all the influential people in Smokey's life, as he's reflecting back at the end of his life, this little teeny paragraph is Smokey's mom. And he can't say much about her. And then we got Smokey's dad over here, which is a continuation from the other page, but there's not much going on there.
No, what did he say? I think the European
not
concept
going
of
on.
Raising
Really
children did not promote a close family. My parents' code of the hills was, we made you and you work, and you must work to the day that you can, from the day you can walk and talk to help.
Yep.
It was a different time then too.
Yep.
It was.
And children must care for parents in their old age. Yeah. Yeah. So we pop you out, you go to work, you're basically our slaves. You're born into indentured servitude, and then you take care of us.
Because I'm sure that's what they did when that's what they were raised. And when Smokey leaves to go be in the Air Corps to go fly, he actually got like Sean Mom was saying, he got sued. His mom sued him for support.
For not supporting.
Because back then you had to support, you had to take care of your parents. Maybe it was a different world then. It was a different world. He puts it, and this is the only thing you're going to pretty much hear of is mom and dad. So.
Yes. Which was super. and even like his sister, who is younger than him and who he talks about, like he even writes more about her, and he's like, I kind of lost touch with her. Like, you know, she was my only kid, but I didn't try to keep track of her much. Like, you know, she's fine. Like she went and had a normal life, married one of his someone in the military with him. It's from Avian Cadets in advanced training. She met him when he and I got our rings as Air Force pilots in Marfa, Texas. Shout out to Texas. I like Marfa. And that was it. So and he wrote more about her than he did about his parents.
Yeah, his sister. You did.
Crazy. Then, all right. How much time do we have left, and how? Okay. So
we don't have much. So
yeah, there is so much I want to talk about. So first of all, I would really like to touch super quickly on Bob Hollowell, which is like one of his first role models, because this is a topic that I think we see come up later. And also we've got a couple different signed Prolong super lubricant posters around the, and actually one of you actually, have we seen Scott? Have we seen Jay Scott in the room today?
He's here. Scott's
here. I got someone gave me a very, very generous birthday gift. And it's on my toolbox, and it's something I look at every single day, and I love it. I have an autographed Smokey Unique, one of those hero cards, large one, and it's the Prolong lubricants. So, but we all know how Smokey actually felt about Prolong. I mean, it's something that he talked about, snake oil, like, it's a piece of crap.
And he tried to work with them. I called him out on it. That's what I called him out on.
Yes!
I called him out at see him in front of, yeah.
Full circle. Oh my God, tell the story.
Well, we were at SEMA, and he was at the Prolong booth, but he was also going to be a part of a class that was all the top engine builders of every field. Indy, NASCAR, every field, sprint car, they were all on stage. So, of course, I had to get there, be shop mom, parent, first front row.
You got there like 5 hours
early.
I
was in there. I was waiting. And just quietly, just patiently, I was extremely shy, still am. I know you're thinking that's not true, but, and...
This was in the early 90s.
And I've told you stories, so, but when he got up to the top, this was, typical Smokey, he wasn't going to go with the plan. The plan was that everybody was going to give a 30-minute, 20-minute, or whatever of what they, what they want to say about horsepower in Indy cars and sprint cars and whatever.
So it was one of those like on the stage, like
yes, he was on the stage and everybody, yes.
Gotcha.
So they're all the best engine builders of the world and in every different field. And Smokey and he just stood right up and he got there and he had I remember, like, y'all didn't come here to sit here and watch a bunch of old man whatever tell you whatever we have planned and whatever. So he threw that away. He said, why don't we put a mic on the floor and let y'all ask, tell me who you are and who the question is for. He took over, he was like in charge. And he said, and they were like, and he's like, put a mic on the floor, get a mic. And it stopped until he got a mic on the floor. And then he's like, okay, just raise your hand, I'll call you up, you tell me who you are, and then point or tell me who you want to ask the question to. And ask whoever you want to ask the question to.
And I think we realized later on in the book that at that time he's actually deaf.
Oh, he's good. Yes, that's right. I didn't really realize then.
Yeah.
So everybody that put their hand up,
so he's putting himself out there.
Dummy, whoever from Egypt or whatever they were from, okay, come up and ask. And of course, they didn't ask anybody any questions. Smokey, and his wife was there. So. Isn't it true that in 19 whatever that you had fence bunnies, what they were called back then, on each side of the track, and that you would do this with women and he's like, you can ask anybody here a question on IndyCar, sprint car, any kind of dirt track. Everybody's there. That's all been written. That's all true. I mean, okay, yes. Next question. And the next person would come up and go, Smokey, isn't it true that in 1962, and there were all these stupid questions about Smokey about either women, or wasn't it true that you were in the Corvette in the convertible as it was going around, and you were actually in the car while the driver was driving, and he by this time he was getting really perturbed. It was like, this is not working. So I'm not one to go stand up in a crowd full of people, and I raised my hand up, told him who I was, and I went up to the mic and I said, Smokey, everything that I know. I mean, I've learned everything from my uncle. Taught me everything. Everything, the book reading and everything is from you. All the actual learning how to do stuff was my uncle, but all matched. I said, but one thing I've learned is that oil. And what you say, you right, and everything I've read is that if you got to add an additive to oil, you have shit for oil. So get real oil. Get 100% synthetic. It doesn't matter what brand, and that's real oil. Anything else is just snake oil, and additives aren't worth a damn. And he's up there in white and all that, but now he has an embroidered Prolong above his smoke. He's always had white, but this first time I seen embroidered up on the top.
Yeah, you tell us where I'll grab. Or okay.
So and he has this Prolong up there. So I'm like, so I said, look, because of you, my lawnmower has synthetic oil, my door hinges have synthetic oil, everything has synthetic oil in it, and you're up there with Prolong on your shirt. Smokey, what's up? You could have heard a pin drop, and it was already going south because everybody was asking these stupid, women crazy, questions, and I thought, ooh, and then he just came alive. He got so happy, animated, and then he said, "That's you're exactly right." And then he made everyone on stage answer. Made him. He goes, tell him that, I think it was tell him that Pennzoil Indy car, tell him he ain't got Pennzoil in that car. Tell him and he tell him the truth. Tell him the truth. We're not going to go, mess up. And he was like, we're not going to mess up the young man's mind. He's got the right answers. And then we're going to go screw him all up now. No. It's time we tell him the truth. And he made Earl Gary talk about it. I remember the sprint car guy was like, well, you know what? Okay, because they're being sponsored by.
They're being sponsored.
Yeah, and he's like, well, I will tell you that our dyno, it's a German dyno with German bearings and whatever. And at however many thousand horsepower, we end up losing bearings. And we started putting synthetic oil in the bearings, and we haven't lost the bearings since. That's how he got out of it. The next guy was Indy, whatever, and it was like, well, the plane I flew in has synthetic oil in it. So everybody was kind of, and then one of them fessed up that we drained the oil after the race and we put Pennzoil in or whatever, so everybody, he made them all answer.
Actually.
And then he went up there and he said, I sold out. I'm however old, I can't remember how old he was, he goes, and because I sold out, don't you sell out. Yes, you need synthetic oil, you're 100% correct, and it's about the money now.
You forgot the part where he said, now that's the kind of question I wanted. He was so irritated because really Danny kind of glosses over the fact that 95% of the questions were about Smokey and sex with some woman that his wife didn't want to hear about at this time.
Yeah, and his wife was there.
It was like so it's disrespectful to everybody there. First of all, the man's achievements will stand the test of time. We still use them today, and people were asking just really bad questions. And
Danny, shot mom back there like.
I'm really trying to watch what I say here, but Danny stood up.
We don't want to get banned off YouTube.
And Danny stood up and he asked a question that really cut to the heart of who he was and why he was at that point in his life. And those of us who have read the book know he got so taken by so many people. All of the money that he earned, all the money that he had to spend to get back his patents, all the things that Smokey did had put him at a point in time where, he sold out, and he freely admitted it.
And he told
he actually
sold out.
Like, because it was honest, it was true. He was held to it. Yep. And he could have chosen to go by, and he was at the booth. That's why he was there. Besides giving a seminar,
the Prolong booth.
he was signing those cards that you see. Those things. That's where they're from. He was signing them there at the booth.
And I have one now. Thank you for the birthday gift.
And he was totally. I'm not gonna pull the pictures out now, but we have the pictures from there to verify my story. Not that you don't believe me.
No,
but
I don't think anyone. Anyway, I don't think anyone just distrusts you at this point, Danny.
And I have the actual bearings. The actual test bearings that he tested to Prolong, they're in the case there, and I could reach them if you want to see them. The actual bearings from Prolong.
Yeah, actually grab those because I'll read this part about his role model, and like the reason why I think that story was really significant at this point in the book was that on page 101, one of the first after his family.
I'll go slow so you can read it.
See, like we're this is the real deal going on right now. Like, this is actually Smokey stuff. So we're not just like, we didn't just pick a random book just for book club. Like, this was really well thought out. So
Yeah.
all right. Well, close to where I lived in Neshaminy, Pennsylvania, there lived a motorcycle racer named Bob Hollowell. He was a religious upcountry Dutchman, about 28 years old. I wanted to be just like him. Bob was a national motorcycle champion, rode an Indian motorcycle. I finally got together $20. I buy an Indian Bonneville Scout just like Bob rides, except Bob's is new, and start racing it. I know Bob pretty good, not as a friend, but by being around him. He does not smoke, period. In order to finance my racing career, I sell the Saturday Evening Post, a magazine, and I have to deliver them. One issue, there is a big advertisement on the rear page of National Motorcycle Champion Bob Hollowell smoking a Camel cigarette and telling how great it tastes. Adios, Bob is a role model. Now to me, he's just another lying mother clucker. So he tells us a story, and I think it's interesting that at that time in his life, where he's young and he's looking up to this 28-year-old, he detests the fact that this guy had sold out for his career. And I just think it's so interesting that later on in life, he was honest enough with himself to freely admit it to Danny, of all people.
To everybody, yeah, he did it. I mean, it was. I should have called him out on it, and I never would have. But I was already, because I went by the prolonged booth, and I was already thinking, what? But it just happened to be because he was getting really frustrated when I wanted a real question.
Yes.
And I just now snapped when you were reading about him selling the books when he was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
You remember what his dad made him do? It was to win something. He had to sell so many of these magazines.
Yes.
or books, and he ended up buying them himself or something to get the prize.
Yes.
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 And his dad made him take it back or something. I remember. So
Shoot, that was like from the first book. That was
so even though that was a crap or whatever, it's the
Okay, so that's
Yes.
all very important,
Yes.
and we're going to run out of time. But
Yes.
I think before we move on from this particular subject matter about Danny's interaction, our interaction with Smokey way back when, I think, and Faye and I have discussed many times, there's a relevance to having things work out the way that they were meant to work out. And I won't get into scripture because that's my favorite thing to do. But fast forward to here and now, where if you look behind Danny and Faye, you see in that case all of the stuff that came from Smokey's shop. You see pistons, you see bearings, you see Smokey's hand tools. We have 5 of Smokey's hot vapor engines, 4 of them here in the building. We were so blessed to be there, to have that interaction. We're really blessed to be having Automotive Book Club where we're discussing Smokey, and we're really blessed to have all of you guys in our lives at this particular moment. The pandemic has been a suck deal, but it really did bring us all together where we could talk about this and make sure that Smokey's still alive. And so before we move on, I just want to make sure everybody's aware that things really do work out the way that they're supposed to.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. Wow. That's really.
That's almost like the perfect ending with.
We're not done.
I know
Okay.
we have a few minutes left, but you know that's so true. I saw a post on Instagram that David Freiberger made the other day about remembering somebody who had passed, and he was like, hey, I'm not looking for anyone to say anything. I don't want condolences. Don't put that in the description. Like, don't put that as your comment. But like, the day that someone stops uttering your name is the day that you truly die. And that's what we're doing here.
You died twice. How does it go?
It said that you died twice. Once when you physically die, and once when the last person who knew you dies. So, as long as we keep talking about Smokey, I
He's
think
alive.
I think he's alive.
He is alive and well.
Shoot,
Like
we have
I said, we
have
can-
so much to keep on talking about, because I really love the part about also Bill France's remaining years. We started out sort of really like smashing down Bill France. I would say, just like, I do not like him personally because of all the death that happened because of his decisions and his rules. However, Smokey has this rule with himself. It's like, as he was talking about, as soon as Bill France got to an age where he was starting to lose it, it's like he could no longer really defend himself in the public space, basically. Smokey decided he was no longer fair game to talk badly about. So once he reached an age, Smokey just sort of like backed off.
And when Bill Francis came to visit him, he wouldn't shun him away.
Yeah.
It's so he could even see
which is
why,
like such a good lesson.
he could even see why he was doing the thing. It was for money, but like Smokey said, I'd rather you tell me I'm a piece of whatever for money than lie to me.
Yeah.
Then lie to me. That's
Yes.
what was the thing. I mean, so he could see, okay, you're just doing something for the money.
Right.
But I can see your why you're doing it. I can see why you're doing it.
Like he had so
so
much empathy. Like that's
Yes.
the thing that I don't even understand, because like I would get so angry at something like that, and that's where I feel like, you know, knowing about Smokey and reading these books like really does make me a better person, because it's like so many of Smokey's friends died because of things that Bill France, like decisions that Bill France made, just because it wasn't in the spirit of the race or because he said so. And yet he holds, like, even at the end, like, I mean, there are people that have done much less than like kill people in my life, and I'm like, if you show up at my doorstep, I will beat you up, you know? Like,
I don't know if we could be like that, right? We a small someone does something small to you, and it didn't mean that he forgave Bill France for Fireball Robert's death and for all of these things. He just understood it, the empathy, like you said.
Yeah.
And like I said,
this is like a couple things. It's like meeting people where they're at. Love thine enemy, which is like, oh god, like that's the one thing I can't.
Easier said than done.
God,
Easier said than done.
So you know what? I want to end. We got a couple things to end on with the book club
Okay.
on. I want to read this about Bill France and have this be what we sort of like lead the live stream on, because it's like so good. And also, you had a special Christmas surprise. So we'll end that on that. So why don't you get that ready? And I'm going to read this. This is on page 107. And then of course we'll announce the next book club date, which I've already forgotten, but I think Shop Mom knows because she's more organized than me. And I've chosen only just like reading to the end of the chapter, because I really think it's important to focus on this part of the book, the automotive history and the characters. So we'll read to, if everyone's okay with it, Don't Get Mad, Get Even, page 143. And Shop Mom, the next automotive book club date, is it
29th.
29th. Okay, so the 29th. Is everyone cool? I mean, it's only 20 pages, a little over 20 pages, but I really want everyone to have a chance to not only enjoy the holidays, but
we're going to end at 43, and we're
end at page 143. The system, Don't Get Mad, Get Even. Because we end the chapter about if the world had more Deweys with Dewey, who, like, out of all the people in Smokey's life, the chapter is called If the World Had More Deweys. So we like, and there's a ton of characters.
Yes.
And I want to also be able to talk more about these, because one of my favorite things about taking a long time with this chapter is I like to go on the Google machine, look up pictures of these people, like read what other people have written about them, you know, see the cars they drove. I don't just like, I want to learn about these figures that were important in Smokey's life. But okay, so I want to read this part about Bill France. I'm reading from page 107. No, my true feelings for Bill France Sr. are sadness. He did live a long life, but I doubt he was comfortable with his conscience as the days wound down. As males, at least all with beards, all males, at least all with beards, have to look at their faces every morning in the mirror. I'm of the belief if you don't feel pretty good about yourself and the trails you leave behind in your life's adventures, each time you really look in the mirror, it's an uncomfortable sensation that you would like to remedy somehow. All successful people I spend time with, I try to learn something from my close observation of how they operated. Now I'm to the point where I've decided that what's yours is yours, and same for me. I will not run up your back or over your head to get to where I want to go, but to left, right, or under is okay. I figure any deal that you and I get into has got to be good for both of us. I had 4 or 5 rules I lived with. There was only one rule that France and I shared, and that was whatever I think is okay. Even here, we differed though. His deal was also anything I do is okay, so if I learned anything from him, it was about how not to treat people that you potentially have a direct or indirect control over. So, we will leave you with that thought.
As we're leaving with that thought, there are new people here who do not know what we're reading. Will you please go ahead and show them the
Yes.
cover so they can order their
Absolutely.
copy for our next book.
Absolutely. This is an awesome book. We read it super slow. There's a lot of information in here, not just about how to live our lives, but also automotive history, racing, inventions, all of Smokey's life. So we are on the second of the Smokey Unique trilogy. The Life According to Smokey. These are his autobiographies that he wrote at the end of his life that he also self-published, because no publishing company would touch these with a 10-foot pole without editing them. So this is I always after the end of this video, I will link in the description where you can purchase the book at the cheapest price. We don't I mean, we owe nothing to the manufacturers of this book. This is actually
Besides gratitude.
Yeah. This is actually Carbon Press. This is Smokey's company.
And that's the most cost-effective way
And
to
it's-
buy that book.
Yes.
Contact Trish Unick,
Exactly. Smokey's daughter.
Because
He
you know
still
me,
runs it.
I love eBay, but Trish actually is not trying to hit a home run with these. She's actually been
Selling them
so
for a
gracious.
reasonable
I think
price.
what she did the last pandemic, she was, if you buy the set, you get the CDs.
Yeah,
Call
she
her
was
and
sending
talk
a
to
bunch
her.
of bonus
Call her
gifts.
and
It was
talk to
just
her.
And, and Mark R is saying he couldn't put the book down. He read the book without putting it down. So kudos to you, Mark. And he says it's $45 plus shipping, and it's well worth it.
Go look
Yeah.
it up anywhere else, Amazon, and you're gonna go 45.
It's very expensive, yeah.
You could buy it from there and then put it back on different platforms because it's that cheap there. It's just what it costs.
Yeah.
Also, some of the ones that asked her whatever, we're kind of a little bit gay here or whatever in the sense of in the sense that we like the smell of honing oil.
No, that's just weird.
That's weird. Okay.
I mean, both of them
I'm not
like it.
politically-
Look, guys, I'm going to tell you, all of y'all straight up. Smells really bother me. And it's weird, I work in a shop, right? Brake clean drives me nuts. I hate the smell. Naphtha and honing oil, yuck. And Faye, the first time she's at the machine with Danny, she goes, is it weird that I like that smell? And my answer is yes. But look at the two of them. They're crazy. They love this.
It's like you put a little bit right
Yeah.
there. Well,
So-
I had Tony, a family friend, the Unique family. He graciously gave me the last 55-gallon drums of honing oil from the shop.
So if you watched my honing video, I honed my 7M block with Smokey's honing oil from his shop. I didn't know it at the time.
This is you can see it's a little bit yellow because it's old, but it's still, so that's some of the honing oil. But then Merry Christmas. A little Christmas present. She really enjoyed she's like when we did the live stream right afterwards, there was still honing on her hands. She wiped them down, but she's like,
I didn't want to
I
wash
just
it.
love
I
it. And I'm like,
rubbed it into my shirt. I'm like,
and we have customers, old timers or whatever that walk in and go, and I've had somebody, a lady say, it reminds me of my dad's machine shop or something. So there's a smell that is in a machine shop that those that know, those that don't probably wish they had one of these. And
it's something, you guys.
it's a different, it's a different.
Oh my God.
So this is it's darker because this comes from the honing tank that we've been honing.
It's been used.
Yeah, and when I do a 302 Chevy, I actually have his honing stones too. To all the influential engines, IndyCar engines, the engine for Ford, engine for Chevy, and he wrote on the box the date that he honed the engine, what engine it was. So when I do a 302 Chevy, the last tenth or two, I stop, I pull the stones out, and I put Smokey stones in, and I finish it. Now what I'll probably do when you do a 302 Chevy, you may get to take one of these little ones home. But so. What do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. Some have a little hook on it for a little ring. I know that no one's gonna hang it on there like.
Oh my God, could you imagine if you hang it and it falls off and you lose it?
And you lose it.
Why would you do that?
Well, it just doesn't. And these actually have to be probably sealed with a little bit of wax up on top. And I may just dip them in wax so they don't spill because the cork's getting a little oily. But if anybody out there is...
So we have some regulars in the room that would really appreciate this.
Really appreciate some real honing oil.
So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of Smokey's honing oil. So for those of you that have been in book club for a very long time, since the beginning, and have a bunch of love for Smokey Unique, have supported the Unique family by purchasing the book and being involved, and who really are Smokey fans, maybe as much as we are, that's not possible, but we know who you are.
Those people, everybody can love Smokey. All
Whoops, that's my water bottle. So please send an email to therealshopmom@gmail.com. You must include your mailing address, otherwise we have no idea where to send it. So if you don't include your mailing address, you are automatically exempt from this. But we, Dan, actually, I have nothing to do with this.
Yeah,
Danny would love.
We're gonna do this.
Danny would love to give 5 little vials here of Smoky Eunuch's
and
last
and
drum of holy
because
oil.
I am the boss.
Oh, the boss.
And I am the boss. If it's more than 5, please know that we love all of you guys. And if we can accommodate, we will. So don't hesitate to reach out and ask.
If it's something that you're kind of a little on the weird side, like we are, where you're like, man, that is really something, done.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
yours.
there are too many people in here who love what we do.
I don't want us to see them on.
Yeah, we don't want to live. It's like telling 3 of your kids, okay, y'all can have it. The rest of y'all no. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't want to see them on eBay for sale. But no, most definitely.
Something special.
Hook up with Shop Mom.
Yeah.
No
hooking up with Shop Mom. I'm so
Don't
tired of
hooking
those-
up with Shop Mom. That's only me.
Wait, y'all gotta know I'm so tired of those match. I don't know how to get rid of whoever put that profile on my thing. I get these match.
One of y'all silly
Men
guys
sending
there.
me nasty things. I'm sorry, people.
So email our beloved shop mom at therealshopmom@gmail.com.
No pictures, please.
No pictures, please.
No
but
pictures.
do include your full first and last name and your mailing address.
Right.
Do they need a phone number for shipping or
No,
just,
no,
okay.
no.
So,
They don't need a phone number.
Perfect.
This isn't to try to get your email so you can be on any kind of list. I can't even.
Oh,
how-
we could sell it. No, I'm just kidding.
So
y'all
we
know
don't
that.
have no list.
Y'all know that.
and that is book club. Merry Christmas to y'all.
Yes.
And so, wait a second, because I asked a little while ago, and apparently people don't really read the chats. But I would like for everybody who has not responded yet, just really quickly, tell us where you're watching from. Where
Oh my
are you
God.
right now? Because that really means a lot to us. knowing that
Sweden,
you-
Kosovo, Chandler, Arizona, Stuttgart, Germany,
Sure.
Garland, Texas, Austin, Texas, something I cannot pronounce, Slovenia, Bristol, Connecticut. Oh, I have family in Bristol. Finland, Ontario, Canada, Spokane, Washington, Massachusetts. I used to live in Massachusetts. I went to college in Massachusetts. Lawnmower is asking if that's a scent we can find at Sephora. No, only here. Only here.
Give us your address
Wow.
and we'll send you one.
That is so cool.
And
See
we're
where
not
everyone's from.
selling these.
Wow.
We're not doing anything.
Nebraska, Kansas, Atlanta,
Yeah.
Georgia, Detroit, Philadelphia. One of my best friends is in Detroit. Lithuania. Oh my God.
Wyoming, we have
San Diego,
pretty
Portugal.
cool.
Whoa. Minnesota, Bellevue, Nebraska, England. This
Shop Mom will
is so
find out a way
cool.
to ship them out
Wow.
of the States if it's feasible. If it's
Wow.
feasible, I could probably make 20 or 30 of these or whatever. But most definitely, if let us know.
So that's just Dini brought that to me a couple weeks ago, and I was like, that is the nicest thing. It was just, and he was like, well, I want to do something to give back to people that are in book club. And I was like, it's so interesting because there are so many people that think that and we are, taking time out of our day and, not only to read the book, but then obviously to talk to you about the book and in Smokey's honor. But I mean, you also give back something to us because, giving us a reason to, hold ourselves accountable, keep reading.
We can be bummed, and
here.
after this, we're grounded. It's like a little. It's just
good times.
Yeah,
Good times.
it's and that's all it basically is. So.
And Brittany from San Antonio from work. Brittany, you should be working, but she's watching the live stream. So
I've had somebody throw it on the big screen. But anyway, thanks everybody. That's neat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's remind one more time. So our next Automotive Book Club Live is going to be after Christmas. It's going to be on the 29th, Wednesday the 29th, and that's going to be at 5 o'clock. And we are going to be reading to the end of this chapter. So we're going to start at Ralph Johnson, page 121. We're probably going to reflect a little bit back on the last chapter as well in our next live stream. And we're going to read to the end of the chapter, which is page, 143. I've just got to get there. 143. So we're going to stop at the system. Don't get mad, get even. And for those of you that are just joining us and are interested, you can see we're not even halfway through the book yet. So if you want to join in late, you can really pick up at any one of these chapters and join in. It's not it is a story of his life, and I do recommend you start at the very beginning and even get the first book. But I mean, these chapters could be whole stories in and of themselves. So if you want to pop in late, it's never really too late. So we hope to see you on the 29th for our next Automotive Book Club Live. Due to some health stuff, we will not be able to meet on the 17th. We were going to sneak in another ASC happy hour That is just not possible. We're trying to figure out a way to make it work, and we just can't make it work. We're so sorry. So the next time that you will see us for a live stream.
This was supposed to be Wednesday's a book club.
Yeah.
And because of health reasons for
There's a lot of things
we're
going
healthy,
on,
but family members.
Yeah.
We thanks everybody for the prayers. That it just ended up that we couldn't do the Wednesday one, so we did it today. So that's another reason why hit the notification button, because sometimes it'll just be, you know what, we're bummed out and we just want to have a drink with our buds, and we may just come on. So hit the notification just so you'll know what's happening. At least
Hey,
that
let's
way.
wish David Johnson a happy birthday. We were supposed to do this on Wednesday. Sorry we couldn't do it on Wednesday. We all just have a lot of family drama going on. David, we're in this boat with you.
Happy birthday, David Johnson. And like I said, we're keeping our prayers.
And Superman coming in
yes.
with the final. Peace and assembly grease and Solis Navidad.
Yeah.
And we
We'll
will see you
on the
next one.
29th.
Whenever the next one. 29th. We did it.